I never imagined my heart would break on a quiet Tuesday morning in December. I was standing in my kitchen on the north side of Chicago, waiting for my coffee to finish brewing, when my phone buzzed on the counter. The snow outside was falling softly, the kind that makes the city feel hushed and gentle, like it is holding its breath. For a moment, I thought it might be a weather alert or a message from my neighbor asking if I needed anything from the store. It was my son. The message was short. No greeting, no warmth. Do not expect us for Christmas. We are going to my wife's parents. They are more important. I read it once, then again, then a third time, as if the words might rearrange themselves into something less cruel if I stared long enough. They are more important. The coffee machine beeped, sharp and cheerful, completely unaware that something inside me had just collapsed. I did not move. I did not pick up the mug. I stood there staring at the screen, feeling that strange pressure in my chest that comes when your body knows the truth before your mind is ready to accept it. I am 69 years old. I am a widow. I live alone in the brick house my husband and I bought more than 40 years ago, back when this street was louder and our lives were fuller. My husband, Daniel, passed away 3 winters ago. Since then, my world has grown smaller, quieter, centered around routines and memories, and the one person I still believed would always choose me, my son, Evan. For most of his life, Christmas meant coming home. Even as an adult, even after he married, he always made it work. Sometimes late, sometimes rushed, but he came. We drank cocoa, exchanged gifts, sat in the same living room where he once tore open wrapping paper as a little boy. That was why this message felt unreal. Not just the decision, but the way it was delivered. No explanation, no apology. Just a statement that I ranked somewhere below his wife's family, as if love were a competition I had already lost. My fingers hovered over the screen. I could have typed a dozen responses. I could have asked what I had done wrong. I could have reminded him that I was alone, that Christmas was hard for me now, that I missed him. Instead, I did nothing. I locked the phone and set it face down on the counter. The kitchen felt suddenly too quiet, too big. Outside, a plow rumbled past, scraping the street clean. Life continued, indifferent and steady. I told myself I would answer later, but deep down, something had already shifted. I did not know it yet, but that message was not just a rejection. It was a warning. Before that message, before the silence and the shock, my life had been built around one simple belief. If you loved your child enough, if you sacrificed enough, everything would work out in the end. I had lived by that belief for nearly 7 decades. I met my husband Daniel when we were both in our 20s, 2 ordinary people trying to build something solid in a city that never slowed down. He worked long hours as a city electrician, climbing ladders in freezing winters and sweltering summers. I worked as an administrative assistant at a small medical office downtown, a job that paid modestly but steadily. We were never wealthy, but we were careful. Every dollar had a purpose: rent, groceries, a little savings, and someday a future for the child we hoped to have. When Evan was born, everything else became secondary. I still remember holding him for the first time, his tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and promising myself that I would give him every opportunity we never had. Daniel and I opened a savings account before Evan was even 6 months old. It started small, a little set aside from each paycheck. No vacations some years, no new furniture when the old ones still worked. We told ourselves we were investing in something far more important. Evan grew up knowing he was loved. I attended every school play, every parent meeting, every late-night talk when he struggled with friendships or grades. Daniel taught him how to ride a bike, how to fix a loose outlet, how to be responsible. When Evan left for college, I cried for days, but I was proud. We paid what we could, filled the gaps, told him not to worry. Education mattered. His future mattered. After graduation, things were not easy for him. He bounced between jobs, uncertain and frustrated. Daniel and I helped quietly. Rent 1 month, groceries another. Never with conditions, never keeping score. When Daniel died unexpectedly, the world shifted beneath my feet. I lost my partner, my anchor. Evan became my reason to keep going. After the funeral, he checked on me often at first. Dinners together, long phone calls, promises that I would never be alone. When he met his wife, Laura, I welcomed her with open arms. She was polished, confident, always smiling. She called me sweet and told me how lucky Evan was to have such a caring mother. I wanted to believe we were becoming a bigger family. As the years passed, my routine settled into something quiet but meaningful. Morning coffee by the window, volunteer shifts at the community pantry, church on Sundays. I did not need much. My happiness came from knowing my son was safe, supported, and loved. Looking back now, I can see the subtle changes. The way conversations became shorter. The way help turned into expectation. The way gratitude slowly disappeared. But at the time, I told myself it was normal. Children grow, lives get busy, love remains. That belief carried me forward. Until it didn't. The first time Evan asked me for money again, it sounded reasonable, almost harmless. It was a phone call late one evening, his voice tight in that familiar way that told me he was stressed. He said his car had broken down at the worst possible time. Repairs were expensive, and he needed it for work. Just a short loan, he promised, a few $1,000s. He would pay me back as soon as things stabilized. I said yes without hesitation. That was what mothers did. We helped. We trusted. A few months later, there was another call. This time it was about a business opportunity that had not gone as planned. He and Laura were trying to get ahead, he said. Things were tight. Could I help them cover a few expenses until the next contract came through? Again, I said yes. I told myself it was temporary. Life was unpredictable. Daniel and I had struggled too when we were young. Someone had helped us once. This was my turn to be that someone. The requests became more frequent after that, always wrapped in urgency. Medical bills Laura supposedly needed to pay quickly. A rent increase they had not expected. A home repair that could not wait. Each time, Evan sounded embarrassed, apologetic. Each time, he assured me it was the last time. I never saw bills, never saw invoices, never questioned him. I trusted my son more than I trusted my own doubts. What I did start doing, quietly, was keeping notes. Not because I suspected him, but because something inside me wanted order. Dates, amounts, reasons. I wrote them in a small notebook I kept in the drawer beside my bed. At first it felt silly. Then it became sobering. The numbers added up faster than I expected. As the money flowed out, something else slowly drained away. Evans stopped calling just to talk. When he did call, It was brief and distracted. Laura's voice often filled the background, correcting him, finishing his sentences. Plans to meet were postponed. Holidays were rushed or skipped entirely. Thanksgiving came and went with a quick message. "We are busy this year. Maybe next time." I ate alone that night, watching the news while my food grew cold. I told myself not to take it personally. Families changed, traditions evolved. This was adulthood. But loneliness has a way of sharpening your awareness. By the time Christmas decorations appeared in store windows, I looked back at my notebook and felt a chill that had nothing to do with winter. The total sat there on the page, undeniable. Tens of thousands of dollars. Money I had never expected to see again, though no one had said that out loud. I still believed Evan loved me. I still believed this was just a rough season. What I did not yet understand was that somewhere along the way, helping had turned into something else entirely. And I was the only one who had not noticed when the line was crossed. By the time December settled in, Chicago was wrapped in gray skies and early darkness. The city felt heavier, quieter, as if everyone was bracing for winter. I decorated my house the way I always did, not because anyone asked me to, but because routine was the last thing that made the days feel normal. I put a small tree by the living room window. I hung the same ornaments Daniel and I had collected over decades. The glass bell from our first Christmas. The crooked star Evan made in second grade. I told myself that even if things felt strained, he would come. He always did. Christmas had a way of pulling him back. A week before the holiday, I texted him. Just a simple question. "Are you still coming for Christmas?" The reply came hours later. "Yes, we will be there." Relief washed over me so quickly it almost made me dizzy. I started planning meals, wrapping gifts, baking cookies I knew he liked. I let myself hope again. I told myself the distance had been temporary, the money issues just stress, nothing more. Then came the Tuesday morning message, the one that ended everything. After I set my phone down on the counter, I sat at the kitchen table for a long time. The house was silent, except for the ticking clock above the stove. I did not cry, not yet. Instead, my thoughts felt unusually clear, almost cold. I remembered something Daniel used to say when decisions were hard. Do not react, act. So I opened my laptop. I logged into my bank accounts slowly, deliberately. Accounts I had opened years ago with Evan's name attached. Accounts meant for emergencies, for his future, for peace of mind. I stared at the balances and felt something tighten in my stomach. Then I noticed something I had never really looked at before. Recent transactions. There were transfers I did not recognize, small at first, then larger. Withdrawals I knew I had not approved. My heart began to pound, not from fear, but from realization. I had not just been generous, I had been careless. One by one, I changed the access permissions. I removed Evan's name. I transferred funds into a new account under my name only. Each click felt heavy, final. I paused more than once, my finger hovering, wondering if I was overreacting. But then I saw that message again in my mind. They are more important. When I finished, I leaned back in my chair, my hands trembling. I had protected myself, but I also knew what would happen next. Evan would notice. He would ask questions. He would not be calm. That evening, my phone stayed silent. No calls, no texts. The quiet felt ominous, like the stillness before a storm.